Hey guys, Kristen Hine with Healthy Home Fitness and Landescapes. Welcome to day 3 of my container planting workshop. So far this week we have gone through container basics, helping you guys pick out your containers, fill them with potting soil, get your tools ready, and site your containers so you know where you're putting them at your home. Yesterday we went through choosing the right plants, so how to look for different colors and textures and knowing the difference between a thriller, a filler, and a spiller. Hopefully you guys have gotten through that. Remember, if you have any questions on anything I'm sharing, make sure you comment on the video so I can help you out as much as possible. That's what I'm here for this week. So today is our first official day of planting, and today we're going to do sun containers. Excuse me. Tomorrow I'm going to do shade containers, but I think a lot of people have containers that are going in the sun, so I'm going to show you guys examples of 3 different ways you can set up sun containers and show you the specific plants in there, and then I'm going to actually plant one of them along with you. I'm not going to do all 3 because we'll be here for a while and I want you guys to start planting yourself. So I'm going to see if I can detach my phone here. Bear with me. Okay, I'm detached, so if I'm a little shaky, I apologize. But I want to show you guys, and I wish I could flip my camera while I'm doing this, so hopefully I can just stay out of the way and show you here. I'm going to show you guys a couple examples of some planters that I have set up ready to be planted, and why they are set up the way they are. So here's the first one. This is a pretty big planter. If I can back up myself a little bit there. You can see it's a tall planter, so I'm standing next to it. It's just, here's my hip. It's just a little below my hip height. I love big containers, so the bigger you can do your containers, the better, the more dramatic they're gonna be, and the more professional they're gonna look. But in this container, I've got a selection of different plants. I've got my spillers, I've got my thrillers, and my fillers. And one thing that you wanna keep in mind when you're picking out plants is, and I should have mentioned this yesterday, so I apologize, is the color of your pot. So this is a black container. So what I don't want to do here is put really dark plants that are going to be my spillers around the edge, or you're not going to see them very well. So try and choose contrasting colored plants to make things pop a little bit more. So what I have in this container, and we looked at some of these plants yesterday, is for my thriller, I have this nice cordyline, and for my filler, I've got actually 2 different things. So it's totally okay to have more than one thriller or more than one filler or more than one spiller. So you don't have to have the same variety of plants for each of those things. And typically, if you have a smaller pot, you want to stick with the same type plant. But if you have a bigger plant or a bigger container, you can actually mix it up and put multiple different things in there for each of those categories and have even more color and interest as things start to grow and fill in. So for my spillers, it's like a tongue twister. For my spillers in this, I have something I'm trying new this year. This is eucalyptus, silver drop. Never grown it before, can't tell you how it's gonna do, but I love the look of it. Isn't that great texture? It's kind of delicate and lacy, yet it's bold at the same time, if that makes sense. So I've got 2 of those, one on each side of the cordyline, and then in the middle, I have the campfire coleus that I talked about yesterday. So these will get really nice and big and bushy. Quite honestly, I probably only need 1 of those in this container, but if you want us to pack stuff really full and get it full faster, then you can load up on more. And that's something, just kind of as a side note, fill your containers up with plants. Like, don't just put like 2 or 3 things in there and have a lot of soil that you're seeing. The more you can fill your containers up, it looks like a lot, but as that stuff fills in, it's gonna look professional. It's gonna look like what you see at the garden centers, and that's what we're going for here. So I've got 3 of the campfire coleus right in the middle, in front of the cordyline and in between the 2 eucalyptus. And then for my spillers, I have the dwarf gold Marguerite sweet potato vine. And this is something I didn't talk about yesterday, a flowering kale or cabbage. Let me see if I can get in some better light here where it's not so shadowy. So there's lots of different kinds of flowering ornamental kale or cabbage on the market. I love them in containers, and yes, they are edible as well. So you can be healthy in your container planting and have a little snack at the same time. So I'm alternating, if you can see this, let me drop down a little bit here. Sorry for the shaky. I have the worst hands. I would not be a good surgeon. So we've got, around the front edge of the pot, we've got the kale, we've got the sweet potato vine, and we're just alternating. So there's a good example of how I have multiple different plants as a spiller. And then I've got the coleus and the eucalyptus for my fillers, and the cordyline as a spiller, as a thriller. See, I'm getting this all mixed up. Hopefully you guys are solid on it by now. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is this bowl. I'm just gonna do it this way. Hopefully you can see. Okay, so this is a low bowl, and for my thriller, I went with a colocasia. Sometimes, depending on the variety, you might see this as an alocasia or colocasia. This one is called Kona Coffee. It's a dwarf. They have these huge leafy black leaves. And that's my thriller. I'm putting that right in the center of the pot. I hope you can see. I can't see what I'm filming right now, so I'm hoping you can see this. So there's my thriller. And then around that, I have that upright Angelonia. I honestly don't know the variety. I think this is big dark pink, maybe. I'll have to look that up if anybody wants it. But I have that as, got 3 of those right tucked up against the colocasia in the center. And then for my spillers, I have dichondra for that soft, lacy texture. And then alternating between the dichondra, I have purple heart, which is a completely different texture and totally different color. And look how cool they look together. So I have those alternating all the way around the pot. You can see about what my spacing is here. I don't have soil in this pot, so it's not gonna hold, but hopefully you guys can see that all right. So those are my 2 examples. Now I'm gonna plant one with you. So let me hook my phone back in here and I'll be right back. Okay guys, I am back and we are going to actually plant one of these sunny containers now. I got my gloves on, I'm ready to go. So when you're ready to plant, what I recommend doing before you start actually sticking the plants in the soil is just set them in the container on top of the soil and kind of get an idea for how it's gonna look. So in this container here, I have, for my thriller, which I need to adjust up just a little bit. Okay, for my thriller, well, you can't see it very well. I have the papyrus. So I talked about that one yesterday. These will get like 6 foot tall. They're huge and they'll get big and full. From one of my fillers, I have the fireworks fountain grass. And that'll get big and tall as well, but not as tall as the papyrus. So it's a filler in this pot. And I also have the Gaze Delight Coleus. So awesome color, and this is one thing you can also look for when you're picking your plants. So you see these together. So the fireworks grass has that kind of ruby red color, and guess what? The Gaze Delight Coleus, the veining on the leaf is a similar color. So they play off of each other. So I'm gonna put those kind of in the back off to the sides. And then for my spillers, right front and center, we're gonna do one of the Scaevola, and then I'm gonna use the silver licorice, one on each side of the Scaevola. So now, something to keep in mind though when you're placing your containers and you're choosing and you're laying your plants out is if the container's gonna be only seen from the front or the sides, that will affect where you lay your plants out. So for example, the bowl that I just showed you a minute ago, I had plants going all the way around. That would be something that would be like sitting on a table, maybe on a pedestal or something like that. So you're gonna walk around the whole container. So you wanna be able to see from all sides. Now in this one, I'm putting my tall plants in the back because this container is only gonna be viewed from one angle. So I'm not gonna be looking at it from the back. Does that make sense? So once you have your layout and you know where things are gonna go, pull your plants out. And I like to start with the thriller when I'm planting. So here we are. Knock it out of its pot, and then you will have roots. So first of all, you don't need your tag. I like to actually just slide the tags in the backs just so I remember what it was I planted later. or if anybody wants to know, I can pull the tag out and I can reference it. So when you pull your pot out or your plant out, you'll hopefully have some roots. Sometimes you'll have more and sometimes you'll have less. But you want to kind of scratch those up a little bit, loosen them all the way up. So they look like that. And you want to do this with every plant you plant. Trees, shrubs, perennials, anything in the garden. Always ruffle the roots up. So then I'm just going to dig a hole with my hand and nestle that in towards the back and just gently kind of push the soil back up around it, around the base, kind of push in to the soil so it's planted at the exact same level as the soil in the pot. Don't ever mound the soil up or you'll end up just killing your plants. So there's your thriller. Now I'm going to go to my spillers. So first I'm going to do this grass. Same thing, roots, tag out in the back, out of the way, fluff my roots up, dig my hole, and then gently push the soil back around it and kind of fill in any air holes, air gaps, pockets. And there's that. All right, so we've got 2 in. This is really fast once we get going with it. Next, we're gonna do our other, what is it? Someone say it. Filler. This is the Gaze Delight Coleus. Ruffle those roots up. You're not gonna hurt them. So I'm like physically tearing them. You wanna just make them loose. If you don't do this, the roots will continue to grow in a circle around the plant and it's not gonna thrive and it's not gonna fill out, it's not gonna grow as well as you want it to. And if you don't do this with like a tree or a bush or something you're planting in your garden, that will eventually kill the plant. It'll girdle, the roots will continue to grow in that circular motion and it'll eventually strangle your plant. So, gardening tip as well. Dig your hole, shove it down in. There we go. So now we're just coming to the front. I kind of like to go in the center first. Lots of roots on this guy. When you have them really dense like that at the base, if you've got a deep enough root ball like this, you can actually just tear that off. Tear all that excess root off, see? And then just fluff up the ones on the sides. Dig that in. There we go. And then we're gonna do the same with the licorice plant on the 2 openings on the side there. One more. And there we have it. So when you're done, you want to just make sure again that your soil level hasn't gotten up so high once you add those plants that you're going to be spilling over when you water. That's why you want to leave it about 2 inches below initially, because as you add the plants, that extra volume is going to fill that up. So just kind of tuck in around each plant, make sure there's no gaps left behind from where you dug your holes, and you're good to go. If you want to fertilize this, I recommend like Osmocote, some sort of a time release fertilizer. It's a lot easier and lower maintenance. Or if you like to do the maintenance on your plants in pots, then like Miracle-Gro, for containers, I would say apply once every 1 to 2 weeks during the main growing season, and then stop in like September as we're going into fall. You could actually probably get away with less often. You could probably do 2 weeks to once a month. Should be plenty. So a little fertilizer, either way you want to do it, and then water them, and that's it. Watch them grow. So don't be afraid as things start to get bigger to, deadhead, or if something's getting too big and taking over, you can always trim. There's no reason you can't trim annuals in a pot. And that's it. That's all I have for you today. So that is your sunny plants. Tune back in tomorrow and we will do shade and then we're done. Have a great week. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.